Welcome fellow students. And a very special warm welcome to Professor Perkle. And now, Group 9 proudly presents our presentation. We hope you enjoy. Scene 1. Action.
Okay folks. I know it has been a long night of managing things strategically, and we want to go home, but we need to discuss what we are going to do for the project in Professor Perkle's class.
Yes, Michael, I'm so tired, but this is our last project before we graduate. We need to come up with something to knock some people's socks off.
I know, Rainy, it is very exciting. So, what do we need to focus on for this project?
Well, Josh, it needs to be about a strategic issue facing a company. After all, it's surely called strategic management for a reason.
Of course, Jen. What do you guys think? Any ideas? And don't call me Shirley.
I've got an idea. How about we do our report on Nike?
Suzanne, why would we want to do our report on the Greek goddess of victory?
No, dummy. She is referring to the sports footwear, apparel, and equipment company. It is only the biggest in the world.
Yes. They have faced many strategic issues in their 3+ decades of business, and continue to today. They have had to make some key decisions affecting profits, in order to be more in line with today's standards regarding human rights and environmental friendliness.
Oh. Okay. I got it now. What do you think, Marty?
I think I'm sleep deprived by my newborn child. Oh, about Nike. I like the idea. Given today's increase in news coverage, many companies have had to alter their way of doing things in order not to be exposed for unethical business practices. Nike has certainly had to deal with this, and do not want to risk losing market share. They already had to give the boot to Tiger Woods.
All right then. Unless there are any objections, Nike it is. Sound good, Michael?
It certainly does, Rainy. Let's all study up on Nike, and go from there. Good night. Now, where is my Jeep?
And Scene 2. The company and the issues. Action.
Okay guys. Welcome to my humble abode. We need to delve into this Nike material. Group meeting. Josh.
Yes.
Rainy.
Yes.
And Jen. Present.
Tonight, we three will discuss Nike and the strategic issues that they are facing. The others are going to do an industry analysis, and then we will all put our heads together for our recommendations.
That sounds like a plan. I trust that we all have been doing research on the company.
Just kidding, I have. In the 90s, Nike got into a public relations nightmare when news of their practices became well known.
That is correct. Nike has always outsourced their production, and that alone has generated a bad reputation for them. However, they were really hit when their overseas labor practices were brought to the public's attention.
Did you guys know that back in that time, it only cost Nike $4 to produce a pair of shoes that they could turn around and sell for $99?
I had heard it, but did not know the number was that staggering. Their chief executive officer, Phil Knight, once stated that Nike had, and I quote, become synonymous with slave wages, forced overtime, and arbitrary abuse.
This is also true. And Nike realized this, and worked from the top down, to correct these problems without forgoing profits and growth. Also in the 90s, they established the Nike Environmental Action Team, and also applied the Natural Step, which is a non-profit that aims to create a sustainable society.
That is right. Nike has made great strides to correct the issues that they are often criticized for. However, simply monitoring the 800,000+ workers in their supply chains alone has not solved all the problems.
Right you are. Nike still experiences problems from 3 key strategic issues. 1 is the social impacts from its production practices. 2 is the environmental impacts from their production, and 3.
Let me guess, the issue of transparent business, while also striving for growth and sustainability in a highly competitive industry.
Rainy, you took the words right out of my mouth.
So what do we think Nike can do about these long persisting issues?
That is something we all will have to think about, and discuss with the others.
Okay, well then. Scene 2 is a wrap.
Scene 3. Industry analysis. Action.
Michael and Suzanne. Nice to see you all.
Hello Marty. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us in this mid-80s tax office to review our part of the project.
The artificial plants are certainly a nice touch.
Agreed Suzanne. They are affordable, pleasing to the eye, and expel no oxygen. Now, we need to go over what we have discovered in relation to Nike and the industry that they compete in.
Well guys, as I'm sure you know, Nike competes in the global consumer products manufacturing industry.
That is correct. They compete against companies such as Adidas and New Balance to name a couple. These companies are under pressure to raise profit margins even though their manufacturing practices are under increased scrutiny from activists and consumers.
Good point Suzanne. The industry is very labor intensive and most of the production takes place in low-wage countries. Employees are sometimes subjected to work under unreasonable terms and poor working conditions.
Right you are Marty. Manufacturers must consider government regulations like minimum wage and laws concerning the use of child labor to avoid ethical dilemmas related to employee welfare, human rights, and working conditions.
Yes. These laws and standards often require the company to become more socially responsible at the cost of increasing production costs.
That is correct. In regards to Nike, they are working with their factories to resolve these social and environmental issues, but with each passing year without resolution, their brand is suffering.
Also guys, the current recession is a real threat to the industry. The growth of this industry is not only affected by the US economy, but the international one as well. Times aren't only tough here but abroad as well.
One other thing that is affecting this industry is the movement to produce more environmentally friendly processes and products. The cost of going green can potentially increase production costs and also increase the final cost to the consumer.
Increased cost to the consumer. Well, no one is going to want to hear it on Black Friday, now will they?
Scene 4. The riveting conclusion to the Nike project. Don't fall asleep.
Hello everyone. And welcome to our unofficial meeting spot. The parking deck. We have done our research and now we must come up with our recommendations for Nike. Who wants to start? I will go. I think Nike should bring back more of their 80s retro stuff. I have been looking for a pair of the old Bo Jackson Air trainers for years.
I think he meant what to do more from a strategic standpoint, Josh.
Oh okay. But seriously. If any of you see a pair of those shoes, let me know. By the way, nice Santa cap, Marty.
Thank you Josh. As they say, 'tis the season. Alright, the first strategic issue facing Nike that we need to discuss is in regards to the social impacts by their production practices.
Yes, Marty. This is an important one that Nike needs to get right in order to maintain its position as an industry leader. We should recommend that Nike continue to proactively work with its suppliers, factories and material vendors to ensure ethical business practices are in place to foster long-term financial sustainability.
Very astute, Jen. They should also analyze their many supply chains and develop initiatives that both encourage and mandate compliance.
Good recommendations guys. Next is the issue of what impact Nike's production practices have on the environment. What do we have there?
I'll take this one too. I think that Nike should establish a threshold for vendor turnover as an indicator that certain processes should be performed domestically until overseas vendors are prepared to adhere with company and regulatory guidelines.
That is a good one, Jen. Though it would certainly be costly to Nike, it would show the public that they mean business in getting their subcontractors in line with today's standards. Yes, Josh. And taking that one step further, Nike should strongly consider discontinuing some overseas vendor relationships altogether to even more emphasize to the public that they are taking this matter very seriously.
Very good stuff guys. The last issue on our agenda is how Nike can continue to increase its transparent business practices. Rainy?
Well, Nike must continue to view transparency as an asset and a modus operandi. To do so, They will need to stress to all departments the importance of operating in an honest fashion and not tolerating unfair practices.
That's right. And if they achieve that, they can circumvent the financial repercussions of lawsuits and negative consumer perception, if any indiscretions are discovered by the media.
Good point, Marty. Any other suggestions to Nike? Yes. Please help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered.
Well, thank you, Bob Barker.
Okay guys, I guess that means we are pretty much done, so the last one to the bucket shop buys the beers.